They swore he was finished. They said 50 Cent was a nostalgia act, a man from 2003 squeezing the last drops out of one legendary album, destined to play the same 12 songs to shrinking crowds until the lights went out for good. And then the man himself walked into Las Vegas and signed a piece of paper so disrespectful to every single doubter that the entire music business had to stop and stare. $15 million. 6 shows. 1 man. And listen to me when I tell you this. That is not even close to the craziest part of this story. Because while he was locking down the richest bag of his performing life, he was simultaneously reopening a 25-year war with the most protected man in hip-hop, clowning him in front of millions, and quietly announcing the end of the television empire that turned him from a rapper into a mogul. 3 earthquakes. 1 week. 1 name. And by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why everybody from Jay-Z's camp to network executives to half the boxing world is watching his every single move right now. Stay locked in, because the receipts in this one are absolutely insane. All right, let's get straight into it, because the first bombshell is the one that broke the internet. He has officially announced his first ever Las Vegas residency, and he named it after the record that started everything. Indie Club. The residency is called NDA Club, and it is going down at PH Live inside Planet Hollywood, right in the beating heart of the Strip. Now, this is not some one-night appearance. This is not a guest slot on somebody else's stage. This is 6 full shows, running December 27th through January 4th, which means he is planting himself directly in the middle of the biggest New Year's celebration on the entire planet. While everybody else from his era is out here looking backward, running legacy tours through half-empty arenas, this man is turning the Las Vegas Strip into his own personal front yard. And the production? Please. Fifth has promised a full-scale spectacle loaded with the records that ran the early 2000s. We are talking Magic Stick. We are talking Candy Shop. We are talking Many Men. And of course, the anthem the whole residency is named after, Indie Club, the song that went diamond, the song that made him untouchable. This is the Get Rich or Die Trying era resurrected in the flesh, in Vegas, under the brightest lights in America. But y'all, here's where it gets really smart. And this is the part the casual fans completely miss. Because 50 Cent never just performs. 50 Cent builds. The New Year's Eve show is being presented by his own company, Sire Spirits. Let me translate that for the people in the back. He gets to rock the stage, sell out the room, collect a historic check, and put his own liquor brand directly in front of thousands of paying fans. All on the same night. All on the same ticket. That is not a concert. That is a business empire wearing a concert's clothes. Every person screaming the words to Candy Shop is also standing inside a commercial for a liquor company that 50 Cent owns outright. Not endorses. Owns. Now, let's talk about the number, because the number attached to this residency is almost hard to say out loud. Reports claim 50 Cent could walk away with $15 million for these 6 shows. 15 million. Let that marinate for a second. That puts him in the same financial conversation as the biggest names to ever cash a Vegas check. We are talking about a man who was once told his voice, a voice literally reshaped by a bullet lodged near his tongue, would never carry a hit record. The industry said he was done before he started. Now he is commanding one of the richest stages in entertainment history. And when he was asked about the money, about everybody congratulating him everywhere he goes, his answer was pure 50 Cent. He said the residency matters to him because he does not have to travel. He said the fatigue was never the performing, it was the flying. He even revealed he was in talks to do the Sphere first, but building a show for that room was so complicated that Planet Hollywood was simply the smarter play. Even his flexes come with a business explanation attached. That is who this man is. And this residency did not come out of nowhere. It comes right off the back of the Final Lap tour. The run that celebrated 20 years of Get Rich or Die Trying and pulled in over $100 million, with nearly 2 million tickets sold across the globe. 2 million people. Let that sink in. If Final Lap was the victory lap, then NDA Club is the permanent trophy case. He stays in one place now, and the world comes to him. Think about the power shift in that. For 20 years, 50 Cent chased stages across every continent. Now the biggest stage in America is chasing him. But hold on, because you know this man. He cannot have a good week without starting a war in the same week. And this time, The target is not some up-and-coming rapper looking for attention. This time the target is one of the biggest, most protected, most untouchable names in the entire industry. Jay-Z. And y'all, this beef did not start yesterday. To understand what is happening right now, you have to rewind all the way back to 1999, when a young, hungry, bullet-scarred kid from Queens dropped a little record called How to Rob. It was a joke track, a playful stick-up fantasy, but it named names. Real names. Jay-Z included. And here is the part most people forget. Jay-Z did not ignore it. He clapped back on its hot with a line that is still quoted to this very day. I'm about $1. What the hell is 50 cents? That was the moment everybody in the culture knew this was not just a joke anymore. Two of the sharpest minds in rap had just drawn a line in the sand, and neither one of them ever really stepped back over it. Over the years, the two crossed paths. They did a Reebok commercial together. They even hopped on a remix together. On the surface, it looked settled. Handshakes, photo ops, grown man business. But underneath those handshakes, that competitive edge never actually went anywhere. It just waited. Because that is what old scores do in hip-hop. They do not die. They marinate. Now fast forward to 2026, and the Queens General is right back on Jay-Z's timeline, throwing shots with absolutely zero hesitation. He posted a meme putting Jay-Z's face on the Predator, yes, the movie monster, and paired it with an old Jay-Z lyric from a 2006 verse, a line referencing someone who is not even 21 yet. Now, let me be fair and give you the full context, because the details matter here. That verse predates Jay-Z's marriage to Beyoncé by years. But did 50 Cent care about the timeline? Not one bit. He was not interested in chronology. He was interested in reopening the conversation. His caption basically said, I know you are going to call me a hater, but what do you have to say about what he said? Huh. Classic Fifth. Jokes, shade, and just enough gasoline to set social media completely on fire in real time. Is this Ja Rule level war? No, not even close. But it is the exact same instinct. 50 Cent positioning himself as the outsider who says what everybody else is too scared to say, and painting Jay-Z as the protected industry king who never gets questioned. And here is the thing, he has been building this case for years. He has questioned Jay's business approach before, claiming Jay only links up with artists after they have already made it, after the risk is gone, after the hard part is done. Meanwhile, 50 built his people from absolutely nothing. Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, Young Buck. He plucked them out of obscurity and made them platinum. Even Tony Yayo has echoed that same energy recently, drawing a hard line between real G-Unit loyalty and what he sees happening on the other side of the industry. Serious feud, or just 50 doing what 50 does? One thing is certain. In this culture, old scores never fully die. They just sit there, waiting for the next post. And if you think the meme was random, think again, because 50 Cent just revealed something that reframes this entire rivalry. He was asked directly about the story that Jay-Z allegedly did not want him performing at that Super Bowl halftime show with Dr. Dre and Eminem a few years back. And 50 did not dodge it. He did not play PR games. He said he believes it was about competition, and then he said something that should honestly be studied. He pointed out that the NFL has no issue with him now, no issue with him becoming a partner around actual professional teams, sitting courtside with owners, building real business with the league's inner circle. So explain this to me. The NFL had a problem with his performance, but no problem with his money? His exact point was simple and brutal. What was the issue? Why did they have an issue when I was performing, but no issue when I am becoming a partner with the actual teams? Make it make sense. You cannot. And then he went deeper. And this is where the psychology of 50 Cent gets fascinating. He said competition in the culture is natural. It is the engine of hip-hop. It is battling. But when it goes past the music itself, when it turns into blocking things in business, that is where he draws the line. And listen to this logic, because it is surgical. He said, you are not even competing for a slot right now. You do not have a new song out that I am trying to outchart. There is no top 10 battle happening. So what are we competing for? What is the goal? He even broke down how the word beef changed after Biggie and Tupac. How before that era it was just called battling. It was sport, it was lyrical sparring, and it did not carry the weight it carries now. He said sometimes you look back at an old rivalry and you cannot even remember what the original problem was. He admitted that happened with him and Jadakiss. He literally sat there asking himself, wait, When did we even bump into each other? That is a man who has studied his own wars like a general reviewing old battle maps. Now, while all of this smoke is floating around online, here is what the loud headlines are distracting you from. 50 Cent's television empire is quietly becoming one of the biggest success stories in modern entertainment, and the origin story will make your jaw hit the floor. Rewind. When 50 Cent first pitched Power, he took it to everybody. Every network. Every door. And every single one of them said no. Nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody from the culture had produced television at that level, and the gatekeepers could not see it. So what did he do? This is the part that separates him from everybody else. He went back and made music that represented each one of the characters. And then he walked back into those pitch meetings, told a portion of the story, and pressed play. He turned a pitch meeting into an experience. He said he wanted something that felt like the Curtis Mayfield soundtrack to Superfly. Music so married to the characters that the songs were saying what the characters were thinking. And here is the detail that tells you everything about who 50 Cent really is. He took $17,000 per episode to make Power. $17,000. For a man who was already selling out arenas. He did not care about the check because he was not building a paycheck. He was building an empire. He said it himself, he just wanted to do it so badly. And the sacrifice was real. For the first 3 seasons of Power, the cast could not even get booked on Good Morning America unless 50 Cent showed up with them. So this man was doing 50 Cent the Rapper at night, finishing at 3 or 4 in the morning, and instead of going to sleep, he would just put the suit on and go do morning television, because call time was 5 a.m. and it was already 4:30. No sleep, just a suit and a mission. That is not a celebrity. That is a machine. And the bet paid off bigger than anyone in that original pitch room could have ever imagined. Rewind to 2019. Power was heading into what everybody assumed was its final season, Season 6. The story was wrapping, the cast was moving on, the obituaries for the show were basically written. And then 50 Cent posted something that sounded almost too confident at the time. He said, "I changed my mind. Power is not going to be over after Season 6. This is too good." Looking back now, that was not hype. That was a warning shot. Because Power did not end. It multiplied. Power Book 2, Ghost. Power Book 3, Raising Cannon. Power Book 4, Force. Every single spin-off dug the world deeper, pulled the fans further in, turned one show into an entire universe. Tommy got a show. Little Ghost got a show. Cannon's Rise got a show. The franchise became a machine that prints audience loyalty. But here is the twist that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. 50 Cent might be closing this chapter, and on his own terms. He just dropped the first look poster for Power Legacy, the next major move in the franchise, bringing Tommy Egan and Tarek St. Patrick back together in New York. The crossover fans have been begging for since Force and Ghost first split apart. The internet went into a frenzy immediately, and then came the caption that stopped everyone cold in their tracks. New heat on the way. I think this is going to be the last spin-off. Then I am done with the Power universe. Read that again. The man who built the empire is talking about walking away from it. Power Legacy is set for 2027, and if 50 Cent actually means what he posted, this is massive. He could be about to walk away from the very universe that turned him from a rapper into a television mogul. But hold on, do not expect the lights to go out just yet. Because Power Book 3, Raising Cannon, is heading into its final season in 2026, and Power Origins, a prequel diving into the younger lives of Ghost and Tommy, is already in development. You see what he is doing? He is not closing the door. He is expanding the runway. He is protecting the value of everything he built, right up until the exact moment he decides to walk away completely. That is not retirement talk. That is chess. And while we are talking about Power, we have to address the drama that had the whole fan base picking sides, because 50 Cent finally broke it all the way down. The Omari Hardwick situation. Ghost himself. For years, fans wondered why there was tension, why Omari seemed so publicly frustrated, and 50 finally laid the whole thing bare. According to 50, when people experience success for the first time, sometimes they need it to be theirs, and theirs alone. They want it to be their success. But a television show is a collective. There is no one person responsible. And then he dropped the receipts. He said he was part of the process of hiring Omari. He said there were points when Omari was not financially in a good space, and 50 gave him money out of his own pocket. Remember, 50 was only making $17,000 an episode at that time. and he was still reaching into his own pocket to help his leading man. He was the marketing, he was the theme song. He was the one performing that theme everywhere he went, making audiences connect to the show in a different way. So what was the actual problem? Money. 50 explained that Omari felt he was not paid enough, that he saw himself as the face of the entire network. And here is where the frustration creeps into 50's voice, because the public does not understand how television works. When Omari says he was underpaid, the audience immediately looks at the most famous name attached, and that name is 50 Cent. They do not know the executives. They do not know who signs the checks at the network level. They just hear a number and scream, 50 did not pay him. And 50's response to that was pure exhaustion mixed with sarcasm. The man even joked that he will happily take that weekly check himself. That is why he is in acting class. Even his own camp jumped in to back him, breaking down how artists always blame whoever is sitting in the driver's seat. When an artist is hot, it is all them. When the money runs out, suddenly it was the label, it was the boss, it was the person who is still doing well financially. It is a cycle as old as the industry itself. Now, let's get into the money moves, because this is where 50 Cent stops being a celebrity story and starts being a business school case study. The liquor, Branson Cognac and Lou Chemin du Roy, his champagne, are not endorsement deals. 50 Cent owns the entire company, Sire Spirits. And listen to the plan, because the plan is generational. He revealed that the whole strategy was to build the company and eventually hand it to his son. Build it, grow it, pass it on. That is not a hustle. That is a legacy blueprint. And he is not stopping at cognac. He let it slip that a tequila is coming next, just adding more pieces to the portfolio and letting the whole thing compound. But the sports world, y'all. This is the part that had my jaw on the floor. 50 Cent has been popping up courtside at the most random games, and people kept clowning him. What are you doing at a Sacramento Kings game? What is happening in Sacramento? Well, now we know. 50 Cent has partnerships with the owners directly, not sponsorships, not appearances, direct owner relationships. We are talking the Houston Rockets, the Sacramento Kings, the Houston Texans, the Houston Astros, the Indiana Pacers, the Orlando Magic, the Washington Commanders, the Minnesota Timberwolves. In Houston, he locked in the Astros, the Texans, and the Rockets all at the same time. And he explained the psychology behind it. And honestly, it is one of the realest things you will ever hear about how wealth moves. He said when you have everything, the cool becomes the object. When the really rich guys, the owners, keep seeing you around other guys who are their equivalent, they look over and say, bring me that. That is cool. Proximity is currency. And now, 11 professional sports teams. 11. And it gets smarter. He created something called the fifth quarter, and once you hear it, you will wonder why nobody thought of it sooner. You know how fans leave professional games early, right at the end of the fourth quarter, just to beat the traffic? Even when it is a one-point game and nobody knows who is going to win, people still flood out because nobody wants to sit in a parking lot for 2 hours. So 50 built social lounges inside the actual arenas, like at the Toyota Center in Houston, where instead of sprinting to their cars, fans hang out at the bar, in a cooler environment, spending money inside the building. He did not just solve a problem. He monetized human impatience. That is a different level of thinking. He even broke down his short-lived boxing promotion company, and the story says everything about his loyalty and his business instincts. It all happened because of Floyd Mayweather. Floyd was going away for 90 days, and he had fighters under contract who were just going to walk. He had already fronted Gamboa hundreds of thousands. So 50 stepped in and picked up all the fighters, not because he wanted to be a promoter, but because that is what you do for your people. And his takeaway from the whole experience? You do not want to go into business with fighters. He broke down the cycle. They fight, get the money, spend the money, then fight again. They become loyal to whoever provides for them when the money is gone. It is a brutal, honest read on the fight game, and it came from experience, not theory. And when they asked him about Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson, he did not hold back either, saying Tank still has it, but watches himself losing rounds on the scorecards before the knockout comes. 32 fights, 30 knockouts. The man studies everything he touches. And then there is Shreveport. This might be the most overlooked power move in the entire 50 Cent portfolio, and I need you to pay attention, because this is empire building on a level most celebrities will never even attempt. 50 Cent built his G-Unit film and television studio in Shreveport Louisiana, and the origin of that decision is a masterclass in seeing value where everybody else sees failure. When he first started looking at film and television seriously, the person he connected with was Avi Lerner, the producer behind Millennium Studios, which was already sitting in Shreveport. And 50 admits he had to learn the film business from scratch. He thought the passion you put into a project is what makes it a hit, the same way you build an album in a recording studio. Wrong. Avi looked at films completely differently. Avi did not even read scripts. He would look at the package, see Stallone attached, and he already knew exactly how much the movie would make selling rights territory by territory before a single frame was shot. Cold, pure mathematics. And 50 absorbed that. While he was in Bulgaria shooting the Expendables sequel with Stallone, Megan Fox, and Dolph Lundgren, he was talking to Avi about Shreveport, asking what went wrong there. And the answer was politics. The tax incentive went away, and when the incentive moved, the entire workforce packed up and gravitated to Atlanta, the closest production hub. A whole city of skilled film workers, displaced. And here is the insane part. While 50 was in the middle of getting everything together to start filming in Shreveport, they tried to pull the tax incentive again. Mid-deal. He pushed through anyway. Now his studio is running. And get this, he revealed that in his own editing bay, half the room is editors, and the other half is AI technicians. He said the technology is moving so fast, it does not make sense to not be in that lane. Even Tyler Perry is hitting him up about new production technology, massive oval-shaped digital backdrop screens that cost $25 million 3 years ago and are now being offered for $8 million, headed to 4. 50 looked at that deal and said, I would not buy that. The man does not just keep up with the future. He negotiates with it. And before you think the movie side is slowing down, Den of Thieves 2, the sequel he executive produced, is on the way, landing in January. Film, television, liquor, sports, Vegas. Every single lane, occupied. Now, let me bring it back to the touring, because there is a story inside this that shows you the DNA of the whole operation. 50 revealed that when the television business went on strike, he pivoted to touring. And here is the part that nobody tells you about being 50 Cent. Live Nation did not even want to support the first run. They felt like there were going to be issues because of COVID. So what did he do? He financed the whole thing himself. For shows in Germany to start, his own money, his own risk, using promoters he had worked with before in those markets to handle the logistics. The deal was his deal, nobody else involved. And when those 4 shows proved the model, he came back and did 16 more. He bet on himself when the biggest live entertainment company on earth would not. And the insight he dropped about his audience explains everything about why he wins. He said the people who were in college partying in 2003, they are grown now. They are successful. They have a wine cellar. They have a bar at the crib. They casually drink at home now instead of the club because their kids are the ones having drinks in the club. And now those same fans bring their kids to his shows. He did not just keep his audience. He aged with them, upgraded with them, and inherited their children. That is generational fanbase engineering. And the loyalty inside this camp is something you do not see anymore. And I want to slow down right here, because this part genuinely matters. Tony Yeo was sitting right there in this conversation, and the way these men talk about each other after 20-plus years will show you why G-Unit was never just a rap group. When Yeo was asked about wanting to act, about whether he looks at 50 and asks for a part, his answer was the opposite of entitlement. He said power would not be what it is if 50 just stuffed it with his friends. He said he knows it is not like that, and he pointed out that the actors 50 did turn into stars, guys like Michael Rainey. Some of them went to school for years for this. Yeo said, of course I want to be in something, but you have got to work for it. He is literally taking acting classes. No handouts. No shortcuts. That is the culture 50 built around him. And then Yeo turned it around and gave 50 his flowers in the most real way possible. He talked about the touring life, and he did not romanticize it, he itemized it. He said on the road they are staying in the Amman. They are staying in the Four Seasons. The best of the best. And he made sure to say what nobody had to say out loud. He said, he does not have to put us in those hotels. Read between those lines. 20 years after the mixtapes, after the beefs, after the industry tried to bury all of them, the boss is still flying the whole family private and housing them like kings, and the soldiers still have the humility to say they know it is not owed to them. In an era where every rap crew ends up in court suing each other, These men are still on stage together, still eating together, still loyal to the soil they came from. Ask yourself how many crews from 2003 can say that. I will wait. And if you want to understand the pace this machine runs at, listen to how Yeo described one single 72-hour stretch. Thanksgiving night, they flew to Qatar, 12 hours there, touched down, performed, spent maybe 3 hours on the ground, then 13.5 hours back, then straight to Atlantic City, then a pool party appearance, then Baltimore for the Ravens event, then Las Vegas, then Miami, then Art Basel. 25.5 hours in the air for one stop, and the itinerary still was not finished. When the hosts heard it, all they could say was, "Y'all are moving like rock stars." And the crazy part? This is the schedule of a man whose peers cannot sell out a theater. That is the difference between an artist who had a moment and a businessman who built a machine. There was even a moment in this conversation where 50 addressed Steve Stout, and it revealed how narratives get manufactured in this industry. For years, people assumed there was beef there. Even people inside the culture were asking each other, "Are 50 and Stout good?" And the truth was layered. Stout did the original deal with Trackmasters back in the beginning, so they were cool from day one. But then, after 50 got shot and came back around, the energy shifted. 50 said Stout called him wanting to know exactly what was going on, and afterwards, the phone stopped getting answered. And then 50 dropped the theory that ties this whole story together. He said Stout is in Jay's camp so deep that even Dame Dash said he talks for Jay. So when you are competing with Jay-Z in any capacity, everything Stout says publicly starts to feel like he is saying it on somebody else's behalf. He is repeating a position, not giving an opinion. That is how proxy wars work at the executive level. It is never the kings throwing the rocks first. It is the messengers. Now here is where the conversation took a turn that I did not expect, and honestly, it might be the most revealing part of everything 50 Cent said. He started breaking down the media game itself. He looked at what Cameron is doing with his sports show, sitting across from the Stephen A. Smiths and the Skip Baylesses of the world, and he said something that cuts to the bone of how this business really works. He said when those guys say something, it is not a big deal, but when somebody from the culture says the exact same thing, it becomes a headline, because people care more about where it comes from than what is actually said. He called it a cultural connection. He said Cam's connection is hip-hop. He grew up in the music, so when he says a line that matches up with the culture, the audience goes, "Oh, okay," and they feel more comfortable watching him. But the flip side of that comfort is danger, because when you are already part of the culture, the athletes and artists you talk about feel like you are one of them. And the moment you say something they do not like, it is not commentary anymore. It is personal. It becomes, "Why would you say that about me?" And that is a trap 50 Cent knows intimately, because he has lived inside that trap for over 2 decades. And then 50 got philosophical, and this is the clip that is going to be quoted for weeks. They were talking about fighters and rappers who get clowned for their age, about how the new generation loves to call everybody old. And 50 Cent, a man who has heard every insult this industry could manufacture, leaned in and delivered the coldest rebuttal of the year. He said, "Calling me old? It is either two things in this life. You are going to get older, or you are going to die young. Don't die young. That is the only other option on the table." The room went quiet, because what do you even say back to that? A man who took 9 bullets and lived is telling a generation obsessed with clowning age that survival is the flex. That living long enough to be called old is the actual victory. This is a man whose own grandmother's generation watched him get counted out at every single stage. And he is still here, still expanding, still signing $15 million residencies, while the people who wrote him off are writing think pieces about him. And he tied it all together with a message about consistency that honestly should be played in every classroom and every locker room in America. He said the record company was never responsible for making anybody hot. They pick you because you already have the highest probability of selling. He said G-Unit was hot before they ever got to a label. The mixtape work, the grind, all of it was built before the machine ever touched it. Consistency, he said, is the key to all success. If you can consistently shoot the jump shot, you are going to the league. If you consistently run the route and catch the ball, you are going to the league. It is not magic. It is repetition until your technique is undeniable. Coming from anybody else, that is a motivational poster. Coming from a man who financed his own tour when Live Nation said no, who pitched a rejected TV show twice until it became a universe, who turned a 9-bullet survival story into a Vegas residency. That is not motivation. That is documented fact. And one more thing before we get to the big picture, because this detail says everything about the man's instincts in the ring of public opinion. When he talked about the new generation of fighters and the way fans label them, he pointed at Shakur Stevenson, a defensive master who gets called boring, who got booed in his own hometown of Newark, who fights on ESPN instead of pay-per-view. And he said flat out that is the real problem. The matchup politics, the business behind the curtain, deciding whose name even gets mentioned. He watches the fight game the way a promoter watches it, the way a network executive watches ratings. That is the lens. Nothing he touches is casual. Every opinion comes with a market read attached to it. And that is exactly why his words move money every time he opens his mouth. So now, step back and look at the whole board, because when you zoom out, what 50 Cent has built in silence is staggering. A Las Vegas residency paying $15 million for 6 nights. A television universe heading into Power Legacy in 2027, with Raising Cannon closing out in 2026 and Power Origins already in development behind it. A liquor company he owns outright, with a tequila on deck and a succession plan that hands the keys to his son. Partnerships with 11 professional sports franchises. Social lounges inside NBA arenas monetizing the fourth quarter. A film studio in Shreveport running AI technicians next to human editors. A sequel to Den of Thieves landing in January. And through all of it, a 25-year Cold War with Jay-Z that he just reheated with a single meme. Plus the Omari Hardwick situation finally explained in full, receipts included. And think about the range of what he has touched just this year. He is executive producing the biggest franchise on Stars. He is clapping back at industry politics from the Super Bowl era. He is explaining the economics of fighter loyalty and the psychology of billionaire owners in the same breath. Nobody else from his class is doing this. Nobody. The class of 2003 is doing reunion shows. 50 Cent is doing reconstruction of the entire entertainment business model. And here is the question I need every single one of you to sit with, because this is the part they never teach you. They told this man he could not rap because of the hole in his jaw. They told him he could not tour, so he paid for it himself. They told him nobody from the culture could produce television, so he took $17,000 an episode and built a universe. They told him Vegas was for pop stars and legacy rock acts, so he took $15 million for 6 nights and put his own liquor logo on the building. At what point do we stop being surprised? At what point does the industry admit that 50 Cent was never the villain of the story, he was the blueprint? 50 Cent once rapped, "You can find me in the club, bottle full of bub." And honestly, that line still applies today. It is just that the club is only one small piece of a much, much bigger operation now. Today you will find him in boardrooms. You will find him on television sets. You will find him courtside next to team owners. You will find him behind million-dollar deals in Shreveport. And come December 27th, you will find him on a Las Vegas stage, standing in the middle of the Strip, reminding everybody exactly who built all of this. From surviving Southside Jamaica, Queens, to commanding music, television, liquor, sports, and the Las Vegas Strip, 50 Cent's hustle never switched off. Not for one day. He did not just survive this industry. He learned how to own his lane in it permanently. And then he built 4 more lanes next to it. But now I need to hear from y'all, because this one is going to split the comments right down the middle. First, are you more hyped for the NDA Club Vegas residency or for Power Legacy reuniting Tommy and Tarek in 2027? Second, was 50 out of pocket for that Jay-Z Predator meme? Or was he just saying out loud what the whole industry whispers in private?